Hello, everyone. Before we get into this episode of the Falcon Punchcast, just want to do a bit of an announcement. So, once again, the Falcon Punchcast is going to go on a bit of a hiatus due to my co-host Hamza having some things he needs to settle. I'm not exactly sure when we'll come back, but for now, this will be the last episode of the Punchcast until further notice. All right, hello and welcome back to the Falcon Punchcast. As always, it is I, your host, Mr.FalconPunch, and with me, as always, is my good friend Hamza, aka Darth Messiah.
Hello, I am the panty to Mr. FalconPunch stalking. Yeah.
All right. Was not expecting that one. I'm like, I wonder, like, matching with our topic, because normally you make it like with our topic sometimes. I'm like, I wonder what the duo is going to be. Panty and Stalking definitely was. I was not expecting that. I mean, I guess the sequel is coming out eventually sometime.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah, right, it is. I forgot about that. I haven't even finished the first one. I gotta finish.
We even talked about it on the podcast when that news dropped. It's like, yeah, they're making a sequel.
Yeah.
But I guess that kind of slightly tangentially kind of relates to the topic we plan on talking today in this Punchcast. In this episode, we just kind of want to reflect and talk about how the anime landscape at large has evolved since we got into it, what it was like when we were getting into anime, because our experience getting into anime is a bit more unique than a lot of people I've seen generally on YouTube that talk about it. Most of the time it's because it's usually from an American perspective. And while I am American, when I was getting into anime, I was actually living in Dubai, which that experience is a lot different because, we didn't have Toonami, wasn't as easily accessible. I guess if you're an English speaker, because there's like plenty of ways to access anime if you can speak Arabic, like Spacetoon and all that.
Yeah, Spacetoon, NBC3, stuff like that. That's like in the Middle East. That's where like anime usually like goes.
Yeah, but since I can't speak Arabic, I'll just like pass by Spacetoon, and I'm like, oh my god, they have One Piece, Naruto, Detective Conan, Gintama, like Inuyasha. I'm like, damn, okay, they're kind of stacked over here. And then
to
meanwhile,
be fair, Toonami had those as well, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yeah,
or Cartoon Network had.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they definitely didn't have Gintama and Fist of the North Star, and I think even one time I saw like Count of Monte Cristo.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, but because of that, like when it came to getting into anime, like I'm not sure how much for you, but for me it was mainly just, going on YouTube. I didn't even know about the illegal sites yet, but it was mainly like watching the three, cut episodes on YouTube. Eventually I moved on to like the illegal sites, which were constantly evolving and changing because, those illegal pirating sites are like, they're like hydras. You kill one, like 10 more pop up.
So for me, it was as I mentioned. So Naruto was my gateway into anime, and it's because like when I switched schools, the new friend group I was a part of would constantly talk about Naruto nonstop, and it took like I would resist it at first because I thought anime was weird or whatever. I think I spoke about this in detail in another podcast, but like. I resisted until I think like a year in. I was like, or 6 months in, something like that, like a good extended amount of time. I resisted, and I'm like, yeah, fine, I'll watch Naruto. And then they told me about like, okay, go to Naruto Get. I don't know if that website still exists.
Oh, that brings back. See, I have memories of a site like that, but not for Naruto, but for One Piece.
Yeah, so like there were a lot of like whatever anime you wanted, get dot whatever .com or whatever. So yeah, I pretty much like it was like a routine. I would come back from school, watch like 2-3 episodes, and then like do other stuff. So that's where I started. And then once I decided like, hey, I want to branch out to other anime besides Naruto, I just knew like, okay, there must be another whatever like site like Naruto Get. So like that's where I found other streaming services where you can like search by genre and tags and stuff like that. So that's where my like it expanded. So that I never was the on YouTube, watch something in parts. I did that for like TV shows, I think. I think for TV shows there was some, or cartoons, where it's like, oh, here's part one of this, part two of that, whatever. But like for anime, I think because I started with illegal sites, I pretty much stuck with illegal sites. Yeah.
Yeah, see, even with the illegal sites, for whatever reason, I just got so used to YouTube that even if the illegal site will have the full episode up there and maybe in slightly better quality, if I could still find that same anime on YouTube, I'm like, fuck it, I'll just watch it on. I don't know.
Oh, really?
I was really stubborn about that. I'm like, well, yeah, the illegal site has Fairy Tail, but so does YouTube. So I'm just gonna watch it on YouTube. I don't care that it's like split up into like 3 different parts. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's gonna show up next on the playlist anyways. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm weirdly stubborn like that with sites. Like if I get really used to a site, I'm like, you want me to change? What the fuck? Which I guess is why I'm still on Twitter, even though I did cancel my Twitter. It eventually got back to me. Damn that website to hell. But
it took, and I think it took a while for like, at least in the Middle East, for like legit streaming services to come over. Like, everybody in like North America was talking about, oh, we're in the golden age of streaming. You'll know this. Crunchyroll, Anime Strike, Funimation, all that. I think
Anime Strike, yeah.
yeah, remember, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, there's like Anime Strike, Anime Lab, or something like that.
I never heard of Anime Lab, but like Funimation, Crunchyroll, Anime Strike were like the 3. None of those were available in the Middle East. Crunchyroll eventually came over. I remember like a friend showed me like, oh yeah, wait, did you know Crunchyroll's in the Middle East now? I was like, oh really? And their selection was not great.
Yeah, there's a couple shows that were like region restricted because I remember I wanted to play around on it, and at the time I was getting into Lupin the Third, and they had Lupin the Third on Crunchyroll, but it was region locked. So I'm like, oh, okay, so there's no point in me even subscribing because the things I want to watch are region locked anyways.
Yeah, I think that High Dive came later, a bit later. No, not too far behind, but later. And same issue. It's like there's the selection was small. There was barely anything on it. Kind of like High Dive now, I guess. Shots fired. Yeah. But yeah, so like I don't think streaming was an option for the longest time. I think I had to stick with illegal sites for quite a while. It wasn't until like I can't remember if it was when I came to Canada or like maybe towards the tail end of my time in Middle East where I like actually like bought Crunchyroll and like because like their like selection opened up a lot. So yeah, that's where how viewing was. Yeah, so no Toonami, nothing like that. Not even Teletoon. It was just like Space Tune Embassy 3 if you knew Arabic, but if not, yeah, internet's your friend. Sail high.
So since you actually went to like schools over there and like your whole life basically, when you lived over there, because when I came out to Dubai, I was mainly I went to like a private school for like 1 year, but we had a lot of problems with it, so then I went homeschooled. But I did like a homeschooling program called like K through 12. I think it's called like iAcademy now.
Okay.
But so I'm just curious, what was like your interaction with other anime fans? Because for the most part, for me, that was the whole reason why I made the YouTube channel in the first place. Because I didn't really know that many anime fans, and as I've talked about in the past, and as you know pretty clearly, I'm very closeted as an anime fan. So most of my friends in high school, they weren't really that into anime. Like one of my friends was outright like he was scared of anime.
I see.
I think he saw like a hentai scene, so he just thought that was all of anime. Like, he was scared to walk into a manga section. Like he walked into that like the manga was going to come out and grab him.
I see.
I mean, eventually he got over it and he started getting into anime and manga for a bit. But I didn't really have that many fans. So my main interaction with like even my brothers weren't into anime at the time. So like the only way I could even speak my mind about anime was going online and talking about it and interacting with some fans.
So man, it's been a while. I'm trying to remember. But it was honestly, I mean, this leads to like another point that you young whippersnappers might not remember who are listening to this. We were like in the prime era of the big 3. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So like it was constantly about Naruto, Bleach, and sometimes One Piece. One Piece was actually, if people listen to it can believe it or not, it was actually less popular back in the day. It's more popular now.
Like,
Uh,
obviously it was popular in Japan, but then like
yeah,
most English speaking countries, because I think One Piece didn't have the smoothest sailing over because it had like originally the 4 Kids dub, which failed.
yeah,
And then it took a while to catch up to like Naruto and Bleach. And also, like, I think I told the story when I was getting to anime. I was looking at the big three because I was the only anime people were talking about at the time.
yeah,
And when you look at them as a teenager, you look at Bleach, cool guy in black, giant sword, and like these really cool characters that are fashionable. Then you look at Naruto, you have ninjas. Ninjas are cool, and they can summon monsters, and they're doing magic and all that shit. And then you have One Piece, which is about pirates, but the boat is goofy, and the main character looks like a farmer. He has a
yeah.
straw hat, and he's skinny.
That
It's like,
that's what I was gonna say. Like, so, mm, like Naruto and Bleach have like more conventional, like what you think of as like the anime like art style. But One Piece, what's doing, it's like its own thing. Like, like Naruto and Bleach were like mainly talked about. One Piece was talked about like by a very few people, and even then, it was like it was more so given as a like these were the two things. Remember, it's very long. Like if you think Naruto is long or Bleach is long, like you haven't. One Piece is like gigantic to you, and then it was also like I think there was a complaint about fillers as well. I think like One Piece had maybe at the time more fillers. That's something I'm glad that's gone.
not as bad as Naruto. See, the thing is,
Yeah.
at the time, the Naruto and One Piece animes were like, I think One Piece had a bit more episodes, but they're the same. I
Mm,
think the main thing was just when like One Piece was coming out in a lot of countries, it maybe
mm,
wasn't getting the same push, and
mm.
because it had an initial bad first impression, people just thought it was, you know, goofy, this, that, the other. Then there's like this whole narrative that like One Piece doesn't get good till Alabasta, or like not even Alabasta. I think you even went to like One Piece doesn't get good till Water 7. Which,
Oh,
if you're going to like tough it out to Water 7, that's ridiculous. I even saw people being like, I started One Piece at Water 7. I'm like, that's some madman shit. That's psychotic.
funny enough, I was having a conversation with a cousin of mine who he's not the biggest anime fan. He loves Attack on Titan, and I think that's maybe the only thing he's seen. He is reading Berserk now, though. Um, Someone told him that One Piece does not get good, the anime, until like episode 400. I'm like, that's not true. He's like, I had to explain to him that like One Piece is good from the beginning, but you don't see how special it is until Alabasta. That's like my at least like what do you call like viewing of it. That like it is good from the beginning, like you're having fun, but like once it hit Alabasta, like it levels up, and there it's like, oh, this is why One Piece is a juggernaut that it is. But like
Right.
I think like because my time was so occupied with like Naruto and Bleach in my high school years, I didn't really like it was Naruto, Bleach, and like a lot of harem anime, like a lot, like a
Yeah,
ton.
yeah. I had a harem etchy anime phase too.
Yeah, like to be fair, like because it was like brand new to me. Like like anything else I watched, like any other like TV shows, like I watched like that type of storytelling just like didn't exist. So that's another thing that occupied a lot of the time. Like a different. Like I remember Breaking Bad was a big deal when I was in high school. Suits. Um, like what
Actual
else?
TV shows,
Big
obviously.
Bang Theory, Friends was like a big talking point amongst our friend group. So like yeah, like so for anime, it was pretty much shonen, and even then, it was like pretty much occupied. Because again, remember, this was before My Hero Academia hit big. This was before Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, Black Clover. Like to be honest, the bulk of my anime like memories are actually from uni, believe it or not. So like like that's where I would say like that's where I discovered JoJo's. That's when I started Dragon Ball. I started to read way more manga. I met Shaheen and he poisoned me with like so many things. Uh,
I enlightened you.
yeah, sure. Oh, JoJo's. That's when it was like that came in university.
Oh
Before
yeah,
that,
yeah, and because I was a little bit into JoJo before the new anime came out by like a couple years, but I didn't even know the anime was coming out. It was just like as I was like reading part 3, they're like, "Hey, we're doing a part 1 anime." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Uh, but then, yeah, once I got to university, JoJo just like that became like the
Exploded.
friend group thing too for
Yeah,
us. Like the
yeah.
whole friend group was into
Like
JoJo.
what Naruto was to my like high school group, JoJo's was for a university group because of like it was just like insane and it kept just like going and then I think like after a while I think One Piece then became like the group talking point because like
Right.
slowly everybody started watching One Piece and just binging it like nonstop, either by reading it or watching it. I don't remember. I think it was mainly watching it.
Yeah, it's
Um,
mostly watching, but then eventually after a certain point, I think they made the switch. I
yeah,
think
like
after like once we made the transition to New World, that's when a lot of them started hopping on the manga.
right, yeah.
But everyone's point was different. But I mean, we kind of moved away a bit from like, yeah, but when we're getting into anime, like that big 3, which you still see on Twitter today, people are like arguing what's the new big 3, and they're obsessed with the big 3, and I'm like,
Yeah.
there doesn't have to be a big 3. Like that could
Yeah,
probably be a whole
yeah.
different podcast. I'm kind of tired of that subject.
No.
With the anime
Yeah,
community.
the only other anime, like because now like memories are flushing back to me. The only other anime that was as big of a talking point as the big 3 was Attack on Titan because that season 1, what like came out and was still
Yeah,
brand new at
season
the time.
like that. The Attack on Titan like made anime fans.
Yeah. Death Note as well was like that was the other big talking point. Again, within we're stating it's everything's within like the shonen sphere. And then obviously like you had some old school fans that were like, man, Dragon Ball was the shit. And I had a friend who was hell bent on getting me into Dragon Ball to the
Oh
point
yeah,
where like
yeah. The
like he came
different.
to my house because like he was like one of those like, oh, it has to be this specific dub and his like it had to be this dub. It had to be dubbed, number one, and it had to be a specific dub where the opening was in Japanese. I don't like every single dub I've seen has like like the instrumental opening. There's no lyrics.
Right, Rock the
No,
Dragon.
no,
Yeah.
no, no, cha la, cha la. None of that. It's just like pure, like just guitar riffs. Um, but he was like, and he was trying to find it because everyone he kept on finding was just like the instrumental opening, no like lyrics. And he spent like half an hour like, going from site to site trying to find that, but like no, yeah, like just couldn't find it. In fact, my first ever introduction, I guess, to Dragon Ball. Speaking of that guy who started with Water 7, my first ever Dragon Ball thing I ever saw was the um, Battle of the Gods movie.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So like, I was at his house. He's like, dude, I downloaded Battle of the Gods. You gotta watch it because like Battle of the Gods when it came out because again it was like a big deal because like Dragon
Yeah,
Ball was
yeah.
dormant for like the longest time. So again, this was before Super.
Yeah, and like Toriyama was actually back on it, so it wasn't like GT. Like he
Yeah,
worked on it, and
yeah. So he's
yeah.
like, dude, Battle of the Gods is amazing. It's like you got like Dragon Ball's back. You got to get into Dragon Ball. And I went to his house, and it's like we got to watch Battle of the Gods. I'm like, okay, fine, put it on, whatever. And so yeah, and I enjoyed it. I was confused, of course, because I had to ask him questions like when the 3 Emperor Pilaf and like the I forgot the other 2, the dog and the lady. When
Oh,
those like
Shu and
3
Mai.
like
Yeah.
yeah like came over, I'm like, who are these like children? And he's like, the Dragon Ball people. They're not important. Legit. That's like what he said to
Right.
me. Yeah, but it's like he's like, see, look how cool it is, because like obviously the fight scene with Beerus and like also the things that he tried to explain to me, like, because like when Vegeta was doing those embarrassing things to not piss off Beerus when like Bulma was going off, he had to explain to me because I wasn't getting the joke. I thought like, ooh, funny slapstick anime humor. He was like, no, you don't understand. Vegeta is a very prideful man. Like, okay, he takes Saiyan shit very seriously. So the fact he's doing all this thing is like deplorable to him. It's like, oh, okay, thank you for explaining it to me. Again, I don't know why he's like, let's start with Battle of the Gods.
I don't know. When it comes to like anime fans, they always make like I guess certain generations just pop into like the weirdest jumping on points. But I guess
Yeah.
it works out because, like, some people come to be so obsessed with like I have to know everything before I start. But like so many people, whether it be comics, anime, manga, whatever, if something is interesting, you'll just fill in the blanks, or you'll just be locked in. You know. Nowadays, we're like, oh, we have to explain everything. And for the most part, for certain series, you should probably start at the beginning. But then, like, your jumping on point, honestly, could be anywhere as long as it gets you that interest. But I don't know. But like part skipping, like with One Piece, I'm like, there's so much you just don't know. And even with Dragon Ball, I'm like, there's so much context you're just not getting.
No,
But hey, if it works, it works.
As someone who's like now got into Dragon Ball properly, from Dragon Ball when Goku's a kid to Z, I'm like I don't know. Like if I started with Z, I would be so confused. Like sensu beans show up in Z out of nowhere, and they don't explain. Like the cat comes up, he's like, "Here, take a sensu bean." I'm like, who? Like if I only started with Z, I'm like, who's this cat? What's a sensu bean? Don't explain it. Like with Dragon Ball, I have the I know that cat is in the like tower. I know what a sensu bean is. They explained it, but like I don't. And then like when Pilaf and those guys show up, it's like you don't know from Z who they are. I don't think they should. Do they show up in Z? I don't think they do. No, that I think about it.
Probably.
I think Battle of the Gods was their first appearance since Dragon Ball. Whatever. So like, anyway, now we're going on a Dragon Ball tangent. But like, yeah, like it's like just start at the beginning. Even with JoJo's, like start with part 1, man. Like, trust me, you're gonna have a good time.
Right. Yeah, I think people have been a little too hard on JoJo Part 1.
It's short though. Like if it was like 20 episodes, I could see the like complaints, but it's only 8. Like you can handle it.
And I feel it only increases part 2, the enjoyment of part 2, because like part 2 is such a great sequel to part 1. So like I feel like because like there's a lot of people that like part 2, so I'm like, if you just outright skip part 1 and you jump to part 2, you're not really going to get that sense of like escalation that just happened.
Also, you don't have any context for like Joseph and what he's been through.
Also, everyone loves part 3, but I honestly think Dio in part 1 is a lot more entertaining of a character than he is in part 3.
Part 3 just shows up at the very end, whereas in like parts 1 and 2, he's more of a presence.
Part 2, he doesn't technically really.
Oh no, part 2 doesn't show up. The part 3 is when he comes back. Yeah.
So part 3, but in part 1, he's an actual genuine bastard. But anyways, this is a whole tangent thing. Going back into like how the fandom has how it was when we were getting into anime, because I'm not sure how you were, because again I was homeschooled, so most of it, my experience was going on YouTube, watching other YouTubers. Even though at the time, anime YouTube, which if you weren't around at the time, this might blow your mind, but in anime YouTube, to be big, all you had to do was do chapter reviews for the big 3. So if you were doing chapter reviews, if you just talked about your thoughts or theories about like chapters of like One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, for a time, Toriko, or whatever, that's how you became big. And then occasionally you had a couple anime reviewers that would review anime, and they'd use footage. And back in the day, if you did an anime video and used footage, that got you some extra fans. It was like, holy shit, because everyone was vlogging back then.
I see.
It was all vlog style. Just like early me, I was mainly like vlog style, but that was also because I only had like Windows Movie Maker at the time, so I don't know how I like put in actual footage.
So for me, I got into anime YouTube in uni. In high school, I didn't even know anime YouTube was a thing.
Oh damn.
Yeah. So yeah, high school I completely missed out, but like in uni, that's when I got into anime YouTube. And I think you were the only other person in our friend group that was into anime YouTube, and to the same extent that I was. Like you and I knew who Mother's Basement was, who Super Eye Patch Mover, who Guguk was. Joey the Anime Man, Digibro. Now he's like Trixie the Witch, and stuff. And like the drama that would happen in between, like Digibro. I still remember to this day. It was one of the biggest things in anime YouTube. Like Digibro did this video at the time. I know he's called Trixie the Witch now. I'm just gonna, for historical context purposes, I'm just saying Digibro. He dropped a video just shitting on like 5 different anime YouTube channels. Like just like this person sucks because he does this. This person sucks because he does that. And they actually did like a podcast, like with Digibro and those other anime YouTubers that he shit on. like together. They all like just like discussed it out. It was I think it was Mother's Basement, like earliest attempt at a podcast. That was, I don't know, that was like a big deal for me. That was like my like holy crap, like I don't
Yeah,
know.
even before that, yeah, because there was even drama in the anime community. Like I remember some of the chapter reviewers, they would like kind of gang up on other chapter reviewers and kind of like trash certain channels. There was like I think it was called like click bombing, where if you clicked on the ads on someone's videos enough times, it would like mess up their channel, and like their channel could almost get taken down. And there was like this anime mafia that was going around doing that to channels. Like I remember there was like all this drama going on when I was getting my start 10 years ago on YouTube, which I was obviously outside of because, I was over here talking about non-big three anime and manga and whatever the fuck I decided to talk about on my channel at the time. Because, I mean, I guess overall my channel's very unfocused, and as most people know listening to this podcast, it's been like probably a year since I've made a proper video. So, like, just listen, it's hard. It's much easier to just get on a call with Hamza and talk and record and put that out there. Than actually like sit down and make a video after, my job, which is me sitting at a computer anyways. But yeah, so most of my interactions with fandom, with the anime manga community, was mainly online, but like not on discussion boards. I didn't know that was a thing, because like so many times I'll listen to someone like talk about their like reminiscing on their anime past. It's like, yeah, I went on these fan websites and discussion boards. I'm like, that was a thing. I'm like, you could do that? Like, shit.
Yeah, I think I kept it. I mean, it's even right now. I gotta get out of that. I mean, it doesn't help that I don't keep up with things weekly. I just like watch something whenever. I prefer binging. So when the show's over and gets like non-relevant, I'm putting non-relevant in quotes here in air quotes. Like that's when I like watch it. But like, yeah, I pretty much just watch something and keep it to myself. I will go search it afterwards, but I'll look at historical stuff like on Reddit or like on Twitter, like what people have said, or like old YouTube videos about it. But like that's pretty much it. Just to get a consensus on like what did everybody feel about the anime. But like that's pretty much it. Yeah, I didn't really interact much.
Right. Yeah. So like, I guess as a whole, even till this day, because like I know like I always just hop on like a Discord. There's some Patreons I'm subscribed to that had like Patreon communities, and I'm always telling myself, I'm like, maybe I should go on those and interact and make some friends. But like I'm a very like keeping to myself for the most part. So I guess that's more on me. That kind of reflected my experience with anime in the past. But the main thing with me, and I'm not sure how you feel about this personally, because when I was in high school, the mere fact of just meeting another individual that was into anime and manga was just enough. Where I
Yeah,
feel is like nowadays, it's just like I could meet someone that's into anime, and we might be just speaking two different languages, but like we just might not like we that kinship, that spark is kind of gone, because as I've mentioned dozens of times in the past on this podcast, I was an anime club president. I guess at this point that was the peak of my life with the amount of times I talk about it on the show. But like because of that club, I was introduced to like a variety of anime fans. I mean, sure, most of them, as we talked in the anime club podcast that we did a while back, most of them kind of had similar tastes. They were kind of bad, but most of them were just like they're anime fans. And I don't mean to be the person where it's like, oh, if you only watch 3 animes, you're not a real anime fan. But there's a lot of anime fans that are just extremely casual. They watch the one show or the 2 shows, and then that's it. And there's
yeah.
not really much of a thirst or hunger to go explore more anime. It's just like, I'm content rewatching Dragon Ball at nausea. Or
What
Hero
about
Academia.
what about the weekly anime watchers, like the seasonal anime watchers? What about those?
Like, I feel like there's those people too, but like, and I could probably talk to those kind of people. And
Mhm.
since I do watch seasonal stuff, I kind of held myself back a bit. Now I'll just watch something seasonally of like, if it's something that's like either a second season or something I know I'm going to get spoiled on if I'm not keeping up to date with it week to week. Um, I'll watch it weekly, but for the most part, if it's something that looks interesting but I know is not going to blow up, that I could probably wait for it to be finished, I'll watch it. But with a weekly fan, the thing with them, like, I still feel like the discussion gets stifled because as soon as that season's over, they kind of just stop caring about the anime. It's for the next hot thing, and it's like I don't want to catch judgment in a lot of people, and you're completely fine and valid of an anime fan if that's you. Even though I don't think those type of people are listening to the podcast, to be completely honest, given the stuff we talk about. But it's usually just the top anime, and the conversation kind of dies there. It's like, oh, did you watch anything from like 5 years ago? So I'm like, no, why? It's like, so you only watch anime from like the most recent couple years.
Yeah, I know. I guarantee that I am a bigger anime fan than most of my friends from high school who introduced me to it. Like, I guarantee you, I mean, the fact that I've gotten so deep, I've hit the toku like bedrock. I'm pretty sure I'm a much bigger, which is saying something. But like, yeah, it's same. I feel like I get excited a bit, but I'm hoping this is like kind of unfair. But I'm hoping that like, are they like half the fan that even like I or Shaheen are? you know, like if I mention like, have they seen Gundam or are they curious about it at least, or like they've seen like a variety of shows or they've read a variety of manga and stuff, and it's like that's what I hope for. But if they're just like the super casual fans, it's like, yeah, I admit it's a bit hard. Like, for example, I have two cousins who are into anime, but again, like one's more into it than the other. Like, for example, the other one of them has seen like all of Initial D because he's a car guy. But like,
Oh, that's good. Not that many people watch initially, so
yeah, but
or
like,
it's not as talked about. But
but
yeah,
he still thinks that like Naruto is the biggest shit ever.
yeah. There's surprisingly, even though Naruto's been like finished for a long time, it still it still has that hype around it. Like, still to this
Yeah.
day, there's like brand new anime fans getting into anime because of like Naruto and shit like that.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
it
like,
is
I don't know.
good.
Back then, I feel people are more likely to like maybe they weren't go watch something from the '70s. That was only for like real hardcore weebs like us. But I feel like they'd probably watch something from like 5-10 years ago. Whereas of now, I feel like that's even asking too much.
Really?
Kill. That's ancient.
Oh my god, dude, that was like one of the first animes I ever like non shonen anime. It was my first trigger show, definitely though. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that like I remember I was talking to an anime fan that was like our age,
Mhm.
and I was like talking to him about like some popular early 2000s anime, or maybe not early 2000s, but like 2010 anime, like Baku no Durara, all that
Mhm.
stuff that did have a fan. Knew nothing about it. And then I had to explain to him what an OVA was. And I also had to explain that to my brothers because my brothers, they're like 5 years younger than me. And they're into anime, but not as hardcore as I am. But Ninja Scroll is coming out. And I'm like, let's go see Ninja Scroll together. Because like a couple weeks back it was released into theaters. And I had to explain what the fuck like an OVA was and like who Kawajiri was as a director. Because like of course when the movie came out for the special screening, there was an interview with him in the beginning, and he was just talking, and they're like, "Who the fuck is this old guy?" And I'm like, "That's the director for the movie." It's like, who is he? Why do I care? Is he the voice actor?
See, that stuff, like the OVA stuff, I found that out through like Mal, like My Anime List, because like My Anime List, they would show a series, they would show anything that's connected to it, and like they would often see like, oh, side story or sequel would be like, oh, it'd be like, what is it? OVA, or when Netflix started doing shit, it would be like ONA, so original net animation. And that's when I'm like, oh, if I was able to connect the dots myself, that like, oh, okay, it's like a straight to DVD or straight to Blu-ray.
Yeah, see, like I feel like our generation of anime fans, especially given our environment, where we were, since we didn't have everything as easily accessible as it was in, like, let's say like America or Canada at the time,
Yeah,
since we were in
yeah,
Dubai. Like I felt like I was more, like, I could do more exploring, whereas I think because now anime and manga is so easily accessible, both legally and illegally,
yeah,
um, there's kind of like no use in searching. And then, like, some of the most biggest anime YouTubers, not to throw shades at them, a lot of them are more like influencer type for the most part. So it's all like trendy and what's happening, what's popping, like the newest trends, the hottest new anime, the freshest anime, this, that, the other. So like people don't really tend to go out of their comfort zone, and they don't really explore. Because like back then, I could spend hours back in the day just exploring my enemy list. What
Well,
did an
to be
ONA
fair,
mean? Who was a
well,
director? Like,
well, to be fair, there was one anime YouTuber that explained why he does it, because people were asking like, why don't you go talk about older shows? And he mentioned that like, in order for him to make money as a full time like anime
right, and I
YouTuber,
completely understand that.
yeah, he
Yeah.
has to make videos about what's trending. And the way anime works is that what's trending is what's happening in the current season. Occasionally, when he has the time, or if he knows that like this is still topical or whatever, like he will make a video about something old. But like for the most part, like it has to be stuff that's like current and modern. I don't know if that sentiment has changed. I think like maybe because anime is so much bigger now that like you could go back
I mean, you can
and talk
definitely
about.
get that niche crowd, but for the most part, yeah, you do have to keep on top. And the problem is, and this is more of like anime as a whole, because like back then, the spring anime season would be like 5 shows.
Ooh, right, yeah, yeah, yes,
Whereas
that is.
now you're like in the 40 plus range. There's a new anime episode dropping off every single day of the week, which is why I had to stop watching weekly. Because I remember I was like questioning to myself, I'm like, I used to watch weeklies, no problem. But nowadays it's just like there's a new anime episode every single day. And I usually try like on Sunday or Saturday, I'll just watch all of my weekly stuff. But then like that would take the entire day if I was like watching like 10 different shows on top of the other shows I was watching. So I'm like, I can't do this anymore. But back in the day, they'd like, you know, there'll be like 3 days out of the week where there was like no new anime episode. That was just a day. But like nowadays, every single day there's something new happening. There's a new anime. And then if you're an anime YouTuber, obviously you got to talk about something popular or what people are watching.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's like 10 of those shows a season now. It's not like, oh, there's just one show I could talk about. Now there's like 5 of them. There's 10 of them. And there's like different niches for these shows. You got like the popular isekai show that like the isekai trash people are all going to flock to. But then, you got the popular shonen, you got the rom-com, the harem,
Yeah.
the
There you go.
surprise hit of the season.
The meme comedy one, yeah.
Yeah, meme comedy. Like we get those every season, so it's like it's just hard to keep up with anime, which is why I think the fandom has changed. It's become so like more tribal nowadays, because then like you get all these communities and they don't really interact with each other as much anymore. They kind of just stay in their lane. It's like, no, I like these types of anime, or I like this particular anime, and I will fight and attack.
I mean, to be
anything
fair, like
outside of that.
that is happening, and I've noticed more that like people are like you said, tribalist, or like shonen. Like when I heard someone, I heard an anime YouTuber talk about that, like, oh yeah, like it seems like every week the shonen fans are arguing with seinen fans. I'm like, why? Like, why is that even like? What are you trying to? A, what are you trying to prove? And B, what's the problem? Like, is there an issue if you like? I don't know if you. Why are you even bother like MHA versus Vagabond? What's better? I'm like, why are you even putting them against each other? They're both like
Those are like
trying to
two
accomplish
completely
like
different shows.
completely different things. Yeah, and then like obviously it's like then like shonen fans like shit on like shojo, and then like I heard somebody even shojo and josei people like go after each other, and then you've got like I think even within the shonen like sphere, which is like the largest like group, it's like you've got like Black Clover fans are like constantly defending themselves against like other.
Yeah, I know the Black Clover fans are constantly getting jumped, and I know what that's like because I'm a Me and Roboko fan, and that show that manga will just catch strays for no reason.
Yeah, which is
They're
just
like,
funny
this
because
got canceled, but Me and Roboko is like 100+ chapters. What's going on in the Jump Office? I'm like, because it's good.
which is funny because like back in the day, if you were a One Piece fan, you would get made fun of, which is like complete opposite now. If you're
Well,
like a One
see,
Piece,
like, actually, I guess it's the same with Me and Roboko because I know Me and Roboko is popular in Japan, whereas like in the English speaking community, I mean, with One Piece, that's completely flipped. Like, I think One Piece in the English speaking sphere is more popular than ever. I mean, we have a live action show. Um, Here where I live in Vegas, we have a One Piece cafe, and then for a while, the Sphere, which is a big, mega attraction in Vegas, for like a week in July, had a whole One Piece light show, and then apparently in Universal Studios, we're going to be having like a One Piece like 3D ride or something like that. So like
yeah,
One Piece has been popping off, especially in America, recently, and I feel like I've been seeing more One Piece fans than ever. And then obviously the anime has been kind of like had that major glow up since Wano, where like the animation's been going crazy.
yeah. I think it's a combination of two things. First, to talk about like the splintering off and everybody becoming tribal. I think that's like kind of everywhere, that everyone is like kind of going into their niches. Like I remember person, again another YouTuber, not an anime one, but another one, talked about how like when he has a conversation with his friends about like what they're watching or like reading, whatever, instead of discussing the same type of book or show or like, well, movies are different, but like when it comes to like shows or books or whatever, like they're recommending each other's stuff, but they're not talking about the exact same show. Like it's more like they're constantly like, oh, you should watch this, I'm watching it. And it's like, oh, you should watch this, I'm watching this instead. Like they're not talking about the same show, and stuff. So like I think that's also similarly happening to anime, where it's like, you've got the red hot blooded shonen fan that like, oh, if it's shonen, I will watch it. If it's not, it doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. And like, if you come to him like with like, I don't know, a mecha or like a rom com or anything else, it's like I don't care. It does not have superpowers and people punching. I don't care.
Right. Even though most mechas do. But anyway, that's a whole different thing. But yeah, see, like I think when we were getting into anime, it was kind of like at the cusp of anime still being niche and anime breaking out into the mainstream. We were like anime fans that were like in that in between generation where like it was still
Yeah.
niche, it was still closeted, but it was slowly becoming more popular, it was slowly becoming more accepted. Whereas nowadays it's just like, dude, I can't go for a drive anymore without seeing someone on the road having some kind of anime sticker. Like that's how big it's become.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm seeing anime in Walmart and Target, CVS.
Mm.
I went to CVS pharmacy and there was like a fucking Gundam toy in there.
Yeah.
What planet?
Yeah. And I think that coincides also with like, we talked about the One Piece like blowing up in popularity. I think that's also connected to like, I think this also is connected to that, and also like anime booming as a whole. Is like manga itself has had a huge boom in recent years. Like, I think for the past like 4 or 5 years, it's been this like constant upward curve. I think very recently that line flattened a bit, and I think maybe sales are dropping a bit. But like I think like manga has had a huge rise. We've seen like article after article of like manga sales breaking records, manga sales going every like you can actually buy manga now very easily at like not even a bookstore but like Walmart and Target. Like it's just like you don't even have to go to like a bookstore or a comic book shop. It's just there
Yeah, like
for you. Yeah,
it's pretty crazy where like
in
you can
in
just find
certain
anime these days.
yeah in certain like like states. I think it's even in like dollar stores now, like Five Below or something like
Yeah,
that. You
Five
can buy.
Below you can get like they don't have like complete series, but you could get like the first volume of like
Yeah,
some
yeah,
Jump series on there
yeah.
for like
But
a
for like a
dollar.
discounted, like a discounted price, it's like, hey, okay, the first one's on us, but if you want to, but like we guarantee you're going to get hooked, and you want to get volume 2, 3, 4, whatever, and you're gonna have to go for like other places to get it. So like yeah, like manga's at this huge rise, uh, and stuff. So it's like that's like I think awesome to see. Also at the same time as someone who's like into official English, it's cool seeing the amount of like publishers that are releasing things in English. Like if you follow the manga community, you know that like North America is actually behind. like
Yeah.
we're behind Italy, we're behind France. Like France and Italy, like if a series is not licensed in English, chances are it's like licensed in Italian or French for some
Or
reason,
Indonesian.
or Indonesian. Yeah. I mean, Indonesian makes sense. It's like very close to Japan.
Right, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, no,
Yes,
like
but still,
if you can't speak Japanese, the languages of those three countries, I think, are your next best bet. And like enjoying anime as a whole.
Yeah. So like, but it's like I think we're getting there slowly. Like the fact that like like Dark Horse has been expanding their line. Viz is like expanding their line and released apps like the Viz app and the Shonen Jump app.
Right.
Uh,
There's even rise of like smaller publishers going for like more vintage manga, like Starfruit, and I think it's called like Living in the Line, or I forgot the exact name, but they have like their own little imprint called Smudge, which the whole focus of that is like old school like horror manga, and they already have two releases. One is for Her Frankenstein, and the other one is like UFO Mushroom Invasion. Two series I've never heard of, but apparently they're like horror cult classics. And like 10
nice.
years ago, that was a thing that just would not happen.
Yeah, I mean, like the fact that you've got like sites like Bookwalker, like now that I use like regularly, like that's where I get like a lot of like my Kondansha and like Ian Press or Seven Seas like manga as well. So back in the day, uh, your only hope, especially in the Middle East, was just again like illegal like streaming, not streaming, like illegal like manga sites or manga apps. There was one particular app, it doesn't exist anymore, called Manga Rock, that everybody I knew used it. It was like the go-to app to like. I think it's still like fond like remembered over fondly like to this day. Like man, because it had everything you wanted, including webtoon and comics as well. They added webtoon and comics later on. I think it goes by Inker now. They like the
yeah, they became official, and they have a few manga on there, but it's like you're not the same.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, so like I mean, the fact that we are getting more proper like English.
Yeah, there's
translated.
like so many manga streaming site, quote unquote streaming sites nowadays that like I had no idea, but like sometimes I go on them and like, what the fuck is like? How did you get? One of them has Sakigaki Odokujuku in English, and I'm like, how did no one talk? This is like a somewhat popular 80s shonen franchise, and it's just on this random fucking app that has like a lot of hentai on it for some reason. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, back in the day, it was pretty much like fan subs and like fan translation or scanlations or fan translations or whatever.
Nowadays, for anime, like for the most part in the season, majority of the times we're getting every single anime that's coming out in the season, and then if we don't get it, it's most likely like some little kid show that just no one was going to watch anyways.
Yeah,
I mean, occasionally there'll be like a series that's not licensed, and it will kind of fall in the cracks, and someone will fan sub it. But nowadays, I feel like that's getting lesser and less. I mean, I think in the summer there was like 2 anime. There was like the new Grandizer anime, even though that's like streaming in like I think Italy and Saudi Arabia. And then Girls Band Cry, which was like a music 3D show that people were loving, but it wasn't like streaming anywhere. But then once the show finished, they just released the DVD for it in full. So like at the end we still got it, and I'm pretty sure Grandizer will eventually get an English release. They'll probably just plop it somewhere. The new Grandizer anime, they'll just probably plop it on one of the various streaming services that will have it. I'll laugh my ass off if it's on Tubi.
Yeah, we'll see. I think like because North America is still behind, I think fan translations are still I think needed for manga, especially if you're looking for like because like we are, I think, still on the very tippy top of the iceberg of that is manga. Like
We've been
there's
getting better, but
yeah, been
like
getting better, yeah, but like there's still I think so much that hasn't translated over, and I think that's where like you need fan trans. For example, like Get a Robo is still not available in like
right.
the
And like we have Cutie Honey, we have Devilman finally, but we still don't have Mazinger Z.
yeah, and even for
We're
those two like Devilman and what do you call it, Cutie Honey, they're only available physically, no digital. So like even if you wanted to read it like digitally, you can't. I don't know if anyone has scanned it and released it digitally. I don't think it has.
probably at this point, but
Maybe I don't know. Oh, yeah, but like
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I haven't really checked those sites yet,
yeah,
but
yeah.
because I
So like yeah,
have a
way more like official avenues to like actually read, because like it's like listen, manga creators, contrary to popular belief, they don't earn much. So like the fact we can actually support them now from where we are, like like halfway around the world, I think is like a good thing. Like I've been bearing the torch for Dinosaur Sanctuary, and I'm glad. Like I have it on pre-order on Bookmark. I'm like, just to put my money where my mouth is. Just like, please, more of this. Yeah.
I mean, even getting away from anime and manga. Well, I guess still maybe anime, but we're getting so many anime movie releases now. Um, whether it be like re-releasing classics like Ghibli, or as I previously discussed, like Ninja Scroll for the anniversary, or getting like a bundle of episodes like we did with Don, and I think soon to be Dragon Ball Daima for the dub. Which is weird. I'm like, I don't know why we wouldn't do that with just the release of the anime. We're just gonna do the theatrical release for the dub. But I was originally gonna watch Dragon Ball Daima subbed, but they brought back the original English voice actor for Goku for this dub,
Oh.
which I didn't think they were gonna do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But they brought her back, and I'm like, oh shit, Stephanie Donnelly, like shit. Like, if she's back, I might have to watch this dub. I don't know, but we're getting that, and there's so many anime movies that I see come out in Japan, or slowly, not slowly, but they do eventually make their way to America, whether it be like the One Piece movies or Spy Family movies. It doesn't take forever for them to come out here. Usually it's within the same year. Like, I just this week I saw Look Back, and it was fantastic, and it is the anime of the year. I'm sorry, Don and Kiniku Man, but Look Back is the anime of 2024.
My first, this year was my first time watching an anime movie in theaters. The Spy Family anime movie was my first ever anime movie in theaters. Yeah, which is like, I know you were like shocked to hear that.
Yeah, because like Dubai, we did get anime movie releases, but
Yeah, I think Broly came out, if I remember correctly.
we got like the Dragon Ball Z movies. We got the Hero Academia movie because I remember I saw it in theaters, and then we'll get like Ghibli movies.
Yes, yeah.
Actually, no, we get like some of them. I don't even think came out in America, because I remember like the 3D CG Captain Harlock movie I saw in theaters. And then I think like the 3D Doraemon movie also came out in theaters, but I didn't see that one. Um, though I found that funny because when you go on theater websites, they'll normally like list out like the actors are in the movie. For the Doraemon movie, they're like Doraemon as Doraemon. I'm like, wow, we're not even gonna give the voice actor credit. We're just gonna say the characters or the actors.
It's the character. He's real. He's voicing
Yeah,
himself.
Doraemon's real. Nobita, no one plays him. He's just Nobita. He's a real boy. I'm like, all right, that's funny. Or like for Dragon Ball, it's like Goku as Goku. I'm like, all right. Don't give credit to the voice actors. Like they're not appreciated enough. But yeah, we've been getting plenty more anime movies. Anime merchandise is like crazy. Like it's everywhere.
Oh, right, yeah.
The mall I go to round one, which is a popular like bar arcade. If you don't know, malls are kind of dead in America, which is shocking to me because like in Dubai, like malls are where you go to hang out.
That's where I was always confused, because I've heard so many jokes about malls in America being like dead zones or abandoned, and I'm so confused. Like every mall in the Middle East is like packed. It's like a it's like a main hub for like shopping, and like also it's like our malls have like cinemas like built into them, or like government
Doctor's
offices. When
offices. Yeah, I did my driving school in a mall. Like I would go up there to meet like my instructor and everything in a mall. I got surgery in a mall. Uh, so many things you could do in a mall in Dubai, and like that's pretty much exclusively for the most part where I hung out with friends. Like if we weren't hanging out at university, we were most likely in a mall.
Yeah, so that's confusing to me. That like, for example, over here, like cinemas are separated. For like they're like their own thing, which I was like very confused by. I'm like, why isn't this next to a mall or like attached to a mall? It's very odd.
I
But
live in
anyways,
Vegas, so most of the theaters are connected to a casino, but that's more of a Vegas. There's still some freestanding, but anyways, going back to what I was talking about the mall.
yeah.
As I'm walking through the mall, there's so many of these kiosks that just have like fake anime merchandise. Like you'll just see like a Tanjiro, like a Pikachu dressed up as Tanjiro from Demon Slayer, or
Oh,
something like that. But like you could tell, it's like when you look really closely at it, it's like I know this is not
oh, it's a
official. Like
bootleg.
some guy 3D printed this in his room. But like they're like all the kiosks are like that. And like the amount, like mall teenagers are still a thing. Like I'm surprised in the year of 2024, there's still teenagers walking around with the Akatsuki cloak.
Really? Oh my god.
I thought that was over with. I thought that was like an era that was gone, but nope, still a thing. I walked into a Hot Topic the other day for the first time in years. I walked into a Hot Topic, and there was just walls of anime T-shirts. There was a Dora Hedoro T-shirt,
Yeah.
which I almost felt like buying, but it's literally just the promotional poster slapped onto a black T-shirt being sold for $24.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, any Hot Topic I've been to, it's pretty much been any anime shirt I have has been from Hot Topic.
Right. I mean, I
Yeah.
only have one anime shirt. I got it from a GameStop years ago. But again, I'm
Oh,
a very closeted weeb, so I don't really wear much uh weeb. I don't have much of a weeb wardrobe.
you don't have the Demon Slayer like green and black like
Yeah, I don't have an Attack on Titan jacket. I don't have any of that. I don't have like the Jujutsu Kaisen like uniform.
I bought the Akatsuki cloak from AnimeCon. Never wore it. I was expecting to wear it at some point, but like I don't know what happened, and I just never did.
Yeah, see, I just have an All Might shirt, which I pretty much exclusively wear when I go to like an anime convention. But that was like back in the day when Hero Academia was popular. Nowadays, I'm worried if I go to an anime convention, someone's going to confront me and be like, "Hey, yo, My Hero Academia is mid."
Oh,
I'd be
that
like,
happened. I was on a Discord server and I mentioned that like, oh yeah, I gotta binge My Academia now because like it's done and I can just like binge it from beginning to end. And they're like, oh, good luck, you're gonna be disappointed. Yeah.
people over blew the ending because even my brothers who don't read Hero Academia, probably not even up to date. Like they probably watched maybe up to season 3, which is I think is where a lot of people kind of dropped off,
hmm
or
hmm
whatever season was like that. Where the gentle guy
Yeah,
popped
the
up.
school festival,
Yeah,
like
the school
gentle guy.
festival and that. Like I feel like that's where a lot of people like dropped off of Hero Academia for some reason. Even though like the arc that follows it is like great. Um which is like always pisses me off because like people will complain like let me fix that in the next arc. And I'm not even the biggest Hero Academia fan, but I do enjoy it. But like my brothers were talking about the ending, but it was like all misinformation. And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, what do you know, Shaheen? I'm like, oh, let me tell you what I know. I read the manga week to week for like 5 years. What the fuck are you talking about?
uh,
And I actually read the ending, so I actually have an informed opinion and actually know what I'm talking about because I was there. Meanwhile, you're freaking out over a mistranslation. But or just blowing things out of proportion. Like, yeah, it wasn't the strongest ending, and I don't think Hirokoshi really the world was just way too expansive for him, and I think he was just tired at that point. He just couldn't keep it going.
yeah,
Um
yeah, that seems to be the case for a
he's
lot
not
of.
Oda. Yeah, yeah, he wasn't Oda, and like to be Oda is some psychopath shit. So So I get it. It's okay. Hirokoshi, my king, rest up. Between you and me, maybe do like a horror theme series when you're done. But like when Hero Academia was ending that last arc, the artwork was phenomenal. Like I honestly think before Hero Academia ended, it was some of the best art on Jump at that time.
True.
Like he was drawing his ass off. But anyways, going
Speaking
back
of,
to
yeah,
the
yeah, but
topic.
I just want to touch on because you mentioned conventions. I think we should mention like what our conventions were in the Middle
Oh
East.
yeah,
Like our
they've
convention,
changed by now because they only got better every year.
yeah. So our conventions were very, very. In fact, the fact that we even had a convention was like big to us. Like I remember my first convention. It was to out Middle East Comic Con, and it was a field trip. So like me and my like high school buddies went, and like we had a good time, but like it was very small. Like think of like a convention in North America. You know that one hall, like pick a hall, like any hall, like that one hall. That was the whole convention for us. Like we went to like I think we both went to Anime Con, which was in Abu Dhabi. I think it was like very close to my house, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, see, we probably crossed paths in that convention, but we didn't know each other
Yeah,
yet.
we didn't know each other at the time. Yeah, yeah. I think we had like ramen at the time. Did like there was a ramen shop there, and also there was a concert where like the group for I think like I forgot the band name, but I think like the band that did the opening for Code Geass, the band that
Oh,
did the
Flow,
yeah
I think.
Flow, the band that did the opening for Dragon Ball and One Punch Man. I forgot the name for that.
Oh, Jam Project was. Oh, I think I missed them because we
Yeah,
came a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
late.
We were there. Like they showed up. They did the Chala Dragon Ball song, and then they did the One Punch Man opening as well.
Damn, I
Yeah,
missed out on that.
yeah. It was really really fun. It was the first
I
ever
I I,
concert
I
I
did
ever been
meet
to.
I think his name is Yashihiro Naito, the creator of Trigun. I did
Oh,
meet
you
him
did.
there. Yeah,
But
and I'm not sure if I
oh yeah, he
said
said
it on.
he liked your name a lot.
Yeah, because like he asked for my name a couple times when he was signing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, by the time we got there, because the friend I went with who drove me there, we went a
Yeah.
bit later in the day. So
Okay.
they're out of the Trigun print. So the print he was signing was the Kikai Sensen
Oh, okay.
print or
Mhm.
Blood Blockade Battlefront. I think
Mhm.
is the English name for that one. But so he was signing my name on it, and he's like, "What's your name?" I'm like, Shaheen. And he's like, "Wait, say it again." I'm like, Shaheen. He's like, "Oh, that's a really cool name." I'm like, "Hell yeah."
Yeah.
um,
In the Middle East Comic Con convention, I thought I met. You're gonna laugh. I thought I met the creator of Samurai Jack.
oh, Gendy?
Yeah, I
You
thought I
thought
met.
you met him? Okay.
No, I didn't even know who Gendy was at the time. I just like he was there, and there was like he was in a booth. This guy. It's not Gendy. It's somebody else. But he was like in a booth, and there was like Samurai Jack comics on the what do you call it, the table. And I was like,
Oh, okay.
and I'm like, there's Samurai Jack comics. He's like, yeah, dude, there is. And then he's like telling me about them, and then he's like, I'm like, oh, so like, what do you do? And then he's like, oh, I misheard, but I've known like I've researched the guy like afterwards, like months later, and I realized oh he was just a staff member that worked with Gendy on Samurai Jack. But I think he was maybe like I think the main artist for the comic book or maybe or something. That's why he had them there. But like yeah, I thought I was for months. I was like, I met the creator of Samurai Jack at Comic Con. Like, whoa! It's like, no, it's not. The creator of Samurai Jack is a completely different guy who I don't think the Comic Con could afford his like his
I mean,
appearance fee.
we uh, later because like Chris Sabat came, and I think the voice actor for that one character that everyone likes in Overwatch was there for one of the Comic
Oh,
Cons,
okay, all right.
and eventually they did get Ezra Miller pre everything.
Just everything.
just whatever the fuck that monster was up to. But because I went to like a couple of the Comic Cons, I only went to the anime convention once, but I went to a couple of the Comic Cons. The first one I remember, I just left after like 40 minutes, and I felt kind of like I wasted my money. Because there's barely anything to do with comics, barely anything
Yeah.
to do with anime. I think the main attraction was like people playing League of Legends, which I had no interest in. So I'm like, all right, I'm kind of done. The second year was a lot better. Like every year it kept on getting better, but then I remember like the amount of people that want to come with me to these conventions sort of like gotten less. So like I eventually stopped going, and I'm pretty sure nowadays it's a lot better. But now I live in America, so I have all the good conventions over here now. Even
So
though
I'm in Toronto, so like I got like the Fan Expo, I've got like Toronto Comic Con, like so I'm in the main hub for like
I
Anime
do
North
want to go
also.
to Anime Expo and Comic Con one of these days. Mostly, I've gone to Level Up Expo, which is our anime expo.
Okay. What about
Which
Crunchyroll
has been
Expo?
getting bigger and bigger. See, those are all in California, which are close by. I do want to properly go, like next year, go to one of the bigger conventions. I'm not sure either Comic Con or Anime Expo. I could probably do both, but I don't know. It's just like the hotel and travel and all that. It's probably going to be a bitch. And then
See,
also, I don't know. Anime Expo just looks packed. That's the only thing that like Comic Con. Like every time I look at pictures, I'm like, that's rough.
the thing for me is that like I would love to go, but like I have people I can go with, but they're very like casual, like fans that I don't like, uh, so like for example, like when I'm going, I'm looking like, okay, which comic book creators are coming, which what's there to do, what panels are there, and I want to do that, and I want somebody to talk to the whole entire time. So like me and Shaheen go, I would have a blast. Okay, and we would like for example, like for Toronto Comic Con or Fan Expo, I can't remember, one of the two. Jeff Johns was there, and like or like Jim Zub or whatever, and we can both go in because we know who they are. We've read their books, so like that would be interesting. Or like anime people, we could see like all the artwork and like meet people and stuff. But like I just don't have people to go with. That's like the issue.
Yeah, see, I could go with my brothers for the most part. It'll be all fine, but I don't know. It'd be cool to go with a friend because I also have a friend too here, but I want a friend with the same amount of knowledge as me. Like which is hard to come by. Hamza, I've molded into my perfect anime manga companion.
Yeah. You didn't get me into VTubers though. I think that maybe I discovered that we both discovered that thing at the same time.
It was around the same time, and when we got into VTubers, it was a little bit before they blew up.
Yeah, a little bit. Like we were on the cut, and then like I remember when the English wave first hit for Hololive. I think that's when like the doors like.
Well, see, because it was like perfect timing. We're all locked in.
Yeah, we were.
I needed an anime girl to talk to me so I could like calm down.
Oh God!
But yeah, now I only care for one and only one. The rest could never mind.
Yeah. So I think like that covers that. I think for the future, I'm worried about two things. One is the amount of you mentioned it, of course, as well, like the amount of reboots and remakes that are coming
okay,
out.
that was off air, but like
yeah, that was off there.
Yeah, but like that is something that is concerning me with anime because we are getting a lot of remakes.
This was concerning me years ago, actually, when I think like there was, I can't remember which one. There was a particular year with two remakes coming out, and I was like, I don't like that. I don't want like.
See, but the year that came out, those remakes I think were a bit fine because it was like Gegege no Kitaro, and I think there was like the weird, yeah, like the Dororo one and the Gegege no Kitaro. They were like kind of like remakes, but they're also like doing their own thing. So like they were just an extension of the series. It was a brand new thing, and we weren't really retreading anything old. Like back in 2018, we we're getting a lot of new kind of like remakes, but not really, like kind of like brand new spins on classic series. Like we kind of had an Ishido no Joe remake with Megalobox, but it was like its own thing. The Gegege no Kitaro anime was a lot different than previous Gegege no Kitaro anime. The only like I think it was a bit later towards 2020 we did get like a Digimon Adventure remake, but it also kind of went on and did its own thing. But now we're seeing like straight up just remakes, and that's where I'm starting to get a little bit worried. Like, not adding anything new, we're just remaking something
Yeah,
that already happened.
like literally at the recording of this podcast, the first episode of the Ranma half remake is out. I think we've also had like not not this year. I think it's been maybe a couple of years at this point. The few Fruits Basket remake that came out. I think closely followed the manga now. What else? I think
I
like
mean, like upcoming, we have like a Ray Earth, Magic Knight's Ray Earth
yes, I've
anime.
heard about that. Yeah.
Rose of Versailles is getting a movie. Fist of the North Star is coming out.
Fist of the North Star's getting something? What?
See, that's how bad this remake news has been. They've only released a poster
Oh,
for the Fist of the North
jeez.
Star. It's been like a whole year, and like squat. So, but it is coming apparently. They're doing a Fist of the North Star remake. I think Hell Teacher Nube is getting a remake. Some of the titles I just mentioned, I'm sort of fine with. See, I'm fine with a remake or reboot if it's for a series that never got like a proper all the way run. Or even with Ranma 1/2, from what I've gathered, the original anime was kind of like mixed up and wasn't a proper adaptation.
Yeah, it veered from the manga and it did its like anime only like episodes and like it didn't. I don't think it fully adapted. Maybe I'm not
So
sure.
like I'm kind of fine with that, and even like the Urusei Yatsura one, because I heard like the original anime was also different from the manga, and then like the new remake anime is kind of like a best of. It didn't adapt the whole series; it was kind of like a best of, because Urusei Yatsura is more of like a rom-com, so it's not like it had strict story arcs to adhere to. At least from the bits I saw of it, because I haven't really completed Urusei Yatsura, but I'm fine with that. My concern is stuff like the Ray Earth remake, which got a full anime. I think the anime towards the end did something different. But like, do I really need to see that remade? Like, I don't think the manga really warranted, because like people like both. I don't really think of like, oh no, the anime or even Fist of the North Star. Again, Fist of the North Star anime adaptation had some problems, like with filler and a couple things got changed. But I don't really think it warrants an entire remake. Like, I feel like, of course, the One Piece remake that's coming out, which that one really pisses me off. Like,
Yeah,
that just does not need to happen, because the
yeah.
whole purpose of it is going to become useless after it hits like 500 episodes.
That's the thing that worries me is that like I don't want anime to turn into the Hollywood industry where it's like very heavily franchise based, very heavily like existing franchise based, not even like we're old franchise based. That's what I wanted to say because like Shonen Jump cranks out new franchises on the daily, but like just relying on old IP and like just constantly everything's like a remake or reboot of something or like a legacy sequel to something. Although legacy sequel, like it depends. Like if if it's like we only did season 1, now we're doing season 2, that I'm okay with. But if the original show ended and we're doing something like like a legacy sequel years later, I'm like that's worrying sign. Or like I think you didn't even mention like the Trigun like reboot, but that's like completely different. That's like also.
See, I'm usually fine if it's completely different, or if it's a series that somehow just veered off and it was done at the time where animes got like completely anime original endings. But I'm fearing that we might get to the point where we're just going to remake anime because it's old, or because it's too long, or something. Like, there's been rumors and talks about like we're just remaking Naruto. Like, get rid of all the filler and just make a close to the manga as possible.
I feel like at that point, just read the manga.
Exactly. And then like at this point in time, if you're really that against filler, there's so many guides to just get rid of the filler.
Yeah. There's literally a website
like that.
for that.
And then a lot of moments people do come from filler for a lot of these anime and manga series. So like sometimes I don't even think these people really know what they're like getting into, and it's like I just want pure uncut, just like no filler, just all gas.
I mean, for Dragon Ball, people love the like driving lesson like episode, and for Naruto, the episode where they try to look under Kakashi's mask. Like those are some of like really memorable episodes.
Yeah, those are filler. But
Yeah,
then, certain character moments, fights get extended through filler. I mean, like the
yeah,
One Piece anime currently has like so many crazy fights that are going on that's like anime original did not happen in the manga. So the people that are hardcore action One Piece fans, with this Wit remake, if it's going to follow really closely to the manga, you're going to see less of that super cool action you're a big fan of, among other things. Because there's certain character moments that the anime kind of enhances that are not really present in the manga, and like vice versa. But like, because more so than like maybe movies, there's like video game remakes and everything, and
well, video game remakes, it depends on how like dated the old, like, because obviously like, video games is something that technology like improves over time. Like controls become smoother, or like you know game mechanics get better or something, like. So I don't know. Like I think maybe at times it's warranted, or obviously graphical updates and
but see,
stuff.
like
Like
the main thing with that I'm just kind of concerned about, because like a lot of video game remakes don't include, like some of them do. Luckily, in like recent years, they kind of included like a way to still play the old version or something.
yeah,
Like you could swap between both, which I think
yeah,
should be a must.
yeah,
Because sometimes a lot of these remakes are like the only way to, for like video games at least, are the only way to really get your hands on a particular game, because the original game is kind of just like, unless you pirate it or emulate
yeah,
it, you can't really play
yeah,
it through legal means anymore without paying
yeah,
like $1,000. And I'm kind
yeah.
of scared with anime that might be the thing where like we'll get a remake and that'll be the only way like legally to watch a certain anime, or like, because as we mentioned, a lot more anime fans these days are just streaming. They're not torrenting. Uh, they're kind of going through the legal means. So like, this new Fist of the North Star anime, that just might be. Well, I guess Fist of the North Star is on Crunchyroll, but I've heard like it's abysmal on Crunchyroll. Like apparently, quality wise, it's really bad. So
Oh,
this
okay.
new Fist of the North Star anime for a lot of people might be the definitive version, and that could be fine. But my only problem is like, sure, the original anime might have problems, but you can never match that OST, that voice cast, that iconic voice cast. I don't want that to be forgotten to time, because we have this fancy new one and the old one is obsolete, which is what I'm scared what these remakes might do. Because like, for example, Devilman Crybaby is sort of the definitive Devilman because it has the Devilman ending. There's going to be a lot of people nowadays that are like, why would I watch the OVAs? It doesn't tell the complete
Oh,
story.
true.
And that's disheartening. Even with One Piece, let's say 5 years from now or whenever that One Piece remake comes out, and it exceeds past like 500 episodes, are people still going to go back to the Toei one, or is the Toei one going to be completely like buried and no one's going to care about the Toei one anymore? Even though I think at that point the Toei one would still be ongoing, which is really weird. Uh, that's a whole can of worms. But like, I'm just concerned if these remakes are going to just bury the original. For like example, the Magical Knights Wraith one. The original anime is a classic, but are people just going to stop caring about it? Because like, I've seen personally, in person, people kind of react negatively to like older animation, which is weird because like I see a lot of people nostalgic for going back to video games. They're nostalgic for like PS1, Nintendo 64 graphics, but when it comes to like old like anime from that, and like people are like, "Ew, get that away from me."
Which is weird.
I'm
I'm the
hoping we
complete
might have that
opposite.
switch back.
I'm the complete opposite. When I see older animation, especially if it's like 90s, maybe not early 2000s, early 2000s, I think like because it's like they were still learning new
Yeah, because like
technology.
we got that switch between like digital and cell, so
Yeah,
like
digital cell. But
there's
like when
growing
we
pains.
were like
Yeah.
when we were like in peak cell animation era, I'm like, honestly, I would prefer this to like more, especially when it comes to like backgrounds. Like I think we mentioned this off air that like modern anime looks a bit too clean, too shiny. It's like it doesn't
Right.
have that like dirt and grit that like some other, like I think there's a YouTuber named Chris Stuckman. He's reviewed everything Ghost in the Shell, the movies, the anime like shows, and the new 3D one, the all the Ghost in the Shell like anime like shows.
Right.
he was reviewing the new one, and he was like, "I get it's the future and everything, but like it doesn't feel like we're in the same universe as Ghost in the Shell one." You know, back in like in the the '90s movie, because like everything is like very dirty and lived in. Everything here is like bright and shiny. I think you even mentioned that for like the Bastard anime on Netflix, where it's like this is supposed to be like a dark and really dark fantasy show, but like everything is like bright and clear. So it's like that's like what I want to like get back to. It's like get back into that, like where I feel like I can like reach out and touch the background. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it is a too clear, which is why sometimes because I love the '80s anime aesthetic. So sometimes when an '80s anime gets remade, I'm like, oh, it's missing that like that the '80s color palette, the floofy hair, all that like is kind of like gone to the wayside. I'm like, oh, okay.
Mhm. Okay, then
So
here's a little bit of so like the Ranma half is very much like '80s, right? It's got the floofy hair stuff. The new
right.
one does keep that art style a little bit, slightly modern, but for the most part, they're keeping the original. What do you think about that when they do that? Like,
So like that's fine. And then I haven't really had that much experience with Ranma one half. I haven't
yeah,
read it, watched it, whatever.
yeah,
So I can't
yeah,
really speak on it. I've heard some people complain there is some censorship with it.
yeah,
Like Ranma one half did have like some nudity,
yeah.
and that's kind of gone, which is weird because it's debuting on Netflix, which you could definitely get away with that shit on Netflix.
But
But
no, but Netflix is licensing it from the original one.
okay, that's true. It's not,
Yeah,
yeah, it's not Netflix original.
yeah, because
Um,
Netflix is getting it after the original Japanese broadcast is done. So
that's
like,
true.
once
Yeah,
the
so I
original,
guess it's that time slot it's on.
yeah, it's the
That's
time
not a
slot
lot of
it's
gap.
on. It's the whatever network is broadcasting it. They have probably those like restrictions in place. Yeah, so Netflix is not like in the bad guy here.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's from what I've heard, some of the censorship has ruined it. Usually, when I see someone complaining about censorship, especially with like anime and manga, I'm kind of like, okay, because like usually that leads to a specific type of unwashed person. But I, sometimes, like I kind of like dig into it a bit deep, and like some of these people are like actual Ranma fans, and they're like, oh, it doesn't. It's a bit different. I'm hoping it kind of justifies itself. Maybe it either follows more closely to the manga because apparently the anime had like a couple characters that were not really that relevant in the manga, but became really relevant in the anime and ruined a lot of
Yeah,
people's
I've
enjoyment
heard
of
that
it.
too. Yeah, yeah.
So hopefully it fixes that and
Mhm.
it could kind of stand in its own in terms of existing because
Yeah,
otherwise but like some of these remakes is just like, did it really need to happen? Can we put these resources into something else? Because that's what I'm also kind of worried about the North Star one. Like I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, I can't wait for it. But like there's also the possibility it might be a CG remake. And I'm like, do we really want that?
oh boy. Yeah. Yes. It gets me really worried of like where we're going. I mean, there's one solution to this. Read the manga or forget about the anime.
Yeah,
Become
there
only manga reader. Okay,
right.
only
See,
manga, no anime.
there is that. And like the only thing is now because even though anime can be original, and we have gotten good originals like every year, there's like at least one or two pretty good original anime. But my only problem is like if we keep on doing these remakes, we might incentivize like, oh, I do an original series, kind of like what's going on with like most streaming services these days. Like, why do something new when I could just harvest an IP that is already doing well? And I'm worried if these remakes start becoming too popular, it might be like, why adapt something new when I could just go back to the well and just make another remake for some pot? Like, I'm gonna make Evangelion again.
They did
Like,
that already. It's called the movies, the 1.0,
yeah, but like
2.0.
I remake a TV series for it now. Because
Oh,
those were
okay.
movies. Now I'm gonna remake it as a TV show. I don't think Ano would do that because apparently I think he's doing like Battleship Yamato now. That man is, say what you want about Ano. That man is living his life. Everything he was ever a fan of, he finally gets his hands on it. Godzilla, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, Yamato, getting the, like, you know, be friends with Hayao Miyazaki. The man's living his life, his best life.
Yeah.
Anything he's ever been a nerd about, he's been able to interact in some kind of positive way. I mean, I guess depending how you viewed his work on the particular series, but yeah, the fact that he was able to do like the whole Shin universe thing, I think is quite the accomplishment for a super fan. But
Yeah.
yeah, with these remakes, I'm just concerned about it. Maybe we might be jumping the gun because, like, yeah, we've been getting a lot of remake news. Who knows? Maybe it might die out. Because like some of these remakes that are like straight up remakes, not really just like brand new interpretations, haven't really gotten the best reception so far. Like Sailor Moon Crystal, um, I know a lot of people like. I think it got better as it went on, but for the most part, people are like, kind of whatever about it. There weren't any Kenshin anime, even despite like the author's controversy. Like I think people like are kind of enjoying it, but like, no news. Like I've really have not heard that many people
Oh yeah,
talk
that
about
got
it.
a remake too. I completely forgot about that.
It's still ongoing, yeah. So it's just like, but I've heard no one talk about it. So like, this trend might die down because I know people like the Urusei Yatsura remake. Again with this Ranma one, I'm not sure how it's going to continue on
I think
going forward.
I think the one bright side is that like these reboots and remakes are still very much in the minority. Like pick any season, it's like one or two out of like 50 shows that are like still adapting like novels, manga, and even some original stuff in there. So it's still like a very small minority. So I think that's the bright side, that like, there's still like clearly like the industry sees money in adaptations and originals, but like yeah, like
Right.
that's a
It's
bright
just
side
like
of it.
because everything else has been kind of remake heavy. It's just like,
Yeah.
when is it going to be like anime's time to get on that remake train? Hopefully, like every now and then we'll get it. It'll be fine. But like sometimes, as long as it's for a series that just never got the proper ending. If I see a series that did get a proper ending, I'm like, oh, we're just going to remake it with modern animation. I'm like, fuck off. You could have used that resource for like anything else.
What if it's something like it got a proper ending but not a proper starting? like take FMA for example, like Full Metal Alchemist, right? The first series, it was adapting it properly, then at some point diverted because like the manga was taking too long or something.
Right.
Uh, but it then got a remake later, but like the starting is like kind of rushed, but it like does properly to the ending, to the point
You
where
see,
like
that's the thing with Full Metal Alchemist. I like both, but then when I want to rewatch Full Metal Alchemist, it's just like I don't feel like rewatching both at the same time. But like, I love the
or you can
beginning of original FMA,
yeah.
but I love the ending of Brotherhood.
That's why I just want to read the manga. I'm like, let me just give me like the proper version, beginning to end. Like that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's always that case, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hellsing
See, I
Ultimate
say
at
all this
least
like,
got like completely like a remake, but like from beginning to end at least, like properly.
yeah, but anyway, this is not the hot take episode, so I'm not gonna get into that. Because that just reminded me of something. Uh,
Yeah.
But despite what I just said, I'm gonna be a hypocrite a bit. If they decided to remake Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, which did get an anime remake, or not, which did get an anime, excuse me, like I think like last year or 2 years ago, and it was a full adaptation, I believe. But if someone wanted to remake that, I'd be fine.
I mean, so I'm
Because that was an ass adaptation. Why did they do?
So I've heard. So I'm not a. There's a series I'm interested in reading, but like I saw the anime just to get a taste of it. Tall and Bound.
Oh, Hanako-kun?
Hanako-kun, that's the one. Yes.
Yeah.
So the anime apparently isn't the best. Like Hanako fans were not happy with it. It like skipped parts. It like rushed things apparently, and it is getting. It's weird. It's slotted for a remake, even though the anime is still pretty brand new. It's like not that old. But it is. I think it is getting a season 2. I think like in the next upcoming like winter season or something. So I'm not sure where it stands on that. But like yeah, like that was the first time I'm like, oh, it's already getting a remake to like appease fans so that it follows the manga better. So like I don't know. Like again, like somebody if there's a Hanako fan listening to this, you can just like explain in the comments what the situation is. Because again, I'm not I want to get into the series, but like again, I'm just gonna get in the manga. You know, this conversation has just like convinced me. Like, you know what? Anime is trash. Read only manga. Anime is too many problems. It's Dragon Ball all over again.
Only
Oh,
watch
speaking of
anime
remakes, my
originals.
God, Dragon Ball.
Well, see, Dragon Ball's not really getting remakes. It's mostly like just sequels.
Yeah, but it's also which brings me to another point. But like you've got like Kai and stuff too, or like redubbing
Yeah,
and
okay.
stuff.
I guess there's Kai and the redubbing. Well, see, redubbing that's like a whole different issue.
Okay, so there's this what? So it's only 2 series that are doing this right now, but I'm really worried when Shaheen said that like the One Piece anime is doing like extended original fight scenes. So the both Dragon Ball Super, whatever Dragon Ball is at this point, yeah, but
Daima
Dragon
is the
Ball.
newest one.
I
Yeah.
know Dime is the newest one, but like I don't know if that's like connected to Super or not. But anyways, both Boruto and Dragon Ball Super are doing this where like the anime is different and the manga is different, and they're both being released at the same time. I don't like that. I hope it's isolated to just these 2 series. I hope this doesn't like future shonen series do not do this because it's like infuriating to me. And it's come to the point where like people don't know. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe you can confirm this. I think like Naruto did this towards the end, where they would have they would have an episode where it's like if it's a 20-minute episode, right? 15 minutes filler. The last 5 minutes is actual canon stuff. So it's like half filler, half canon. I heard there were some episodes like that. And then
Yeah, I think there's also like in the Naruto anime towards the end,
Mhm.
I think there's like episodes that like adapted like a light novel story and they just animated it.
Okay. Yeah, and then like but like with the Dragon Ball Super, like for example, like the Super manga is like very like different. Like if the Super anime hasn't even like it's gone past it, but it's also like done things differently than
It
the
probably never will at this point, but
done the like but like for example, like the movie came out and it's adapting the movie panel for panel. I'm like, why?
yeah, there'll be like a
Yeah,
few different like they'll have like extended scenes or whatever, but then like they'll skip a movie because like the Broly movie doesn't have an arc in the
yeah.
Super manga, but Broly does show up in the superhero arc. And I'm guessing now, because Daima's a thing, and then Toriyama's unfortunately out of the picture. Toyotaro, who's currently doing Dragon Ball Super, um, he will have to just come up because I know Toriyama helped him with the story, so like now it'll just be completely up to him. I'm
Yeah,
assuming
yeah.
to come up with the Super storylines, and like the Super did have like a couple original arcs for like yeah, I forgot the exact names, but like I think most Dragon Ball arcs are named after the villain. So it was like Moro and I think Granola
Mhm.
was the arc after that, which
Yeah.
those never got an anime, and I'm not sure if ever will at this
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's canon in Dragon Ball is interesting, especially since Super apparently is before the proper ending of Z where he meets Oob. So
Yeah. Also, the Super manga, does it start with Battle of the Gods or not? It starts after that, or Resurrection F, or whatever.
uh that's tough to say because when I was reading the Super manga, I think I was like reading it after whatever the Super anime stopped.
Stopped.
That's when I
Okay.
jumped into the manga, so I didn't really go back to the beginning.
Okay.
Um, but it's just it is bizarre because it's like we have a
Yeah.
movie, then I'm going to make an anime version of this movie that's going to have differences. Then I'm going to
Yeah.
make a manga version of this movie that has differences. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
All right.
like even the Boruto, like I haven't read or watched Boruto, but I've seen videos on it where it's having similar issues where like people are unsure what's canon, what's not. Characters act completely differently in the manga to the anime. Like there's this one villain who in the anime kind of acts like a soft boy, but in the manga is like a hardcore edge lord. So like, okay, which one? Like I don't like. It's the completely different like same character, but like different like personalities completely. So it's like, I hope this like whole thing of like let's release the anime and the manga at the same time. Don't do it. Just like unless you make it clear like both different timelines, different storylines. Read or watch whichever one you prefer. Like okay, fine, just be honest about it. But like if you're like trying to do this thing where like both are canon, no, don't do it. Thank you very much. No, please not. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but besides those concerns, anime is just becoming bigger and bigger. I'm surprised every year that like how much anime is breaking into the mainstream, whether it be like a Goku balloon at the Macy's Day Parade or
I think it's already is mainstream. Like I like if you I think like if
no, but
you
like every year just keeps on breaking more and more into the
breaking more.
mainstream, whether it
Yeah.
be like the Fortnite skins or the whole thing that happened in Vegas. We had the fucking One Piece Orchestra come to Vegas. Which I'm like, that if you told me that when I was like 14, I would have been like, nah, you lying. That ain't happening. Or that, the One Piece live action was a hit, and that we keep on getting more anime live actions that are doing pretty well.
Wait, what was live? Oh, the One Piece live action, right? That was that was a hit.
Yeah,
But
One Piece live
Yu
action, but then
Hakusho
we also
one
got.
was a failure, right?
I've heard mixed things about it. I'm not too sure, though. There was this one fight scene that looked sick as hell that I watched on YouTube, but everyone's saying that was like the best part. So I don't know. But I heard the City Hunter movie was really good, and then apparently Hollywood is still like rubbing their hands together, being like, "Oh," because there's been rumors about like a Hero Academia live action.
There is going to be a Gundam live
Since I
action.
was a kid, they've been talking about an Akira live action, but
Oh, that's
nothing. That's
that's
just
in
like in development hell.
yeah
Same thing with a Naruto live action. Then there was like news for like a Your Name and Jujutsu Kaisen live action, which I don't even know how those work.
yeah.
But yeah, even Hollywood has been taking interest in anime, which
I
who
my
knows? Because like Hollywood kind of seems like okay, superheroes are kind of like simmering down a bit. We got to find the new hotness, which right now I think is video games.
yeah.
Games are like the new hotness, even though I could see that going towards anime, even though I'm very curious for like Hollywood anime live actions. Like there's some that I could see working pretty well, but like the ones they always pick out to like adapt, I'm like, why this one? Why would you do this one for your Hollywood live action? But like, okay, but
My view on the live actions, I mean, like, yeah, sure, I guess it, like, if it makes more people interested in the anime or the manga, sure. But my view is the same as the Disney live actions, where it's like, I don't need it. If I wanted it, I can, like, if I want it, I can just watch the anime or read the manga. That's my view. I really don't like, I want animation just to stand on its own. I don't need it to be, like, justified by a live action. So that's just my
right,
take.
unfortunately, there's a lot of people that still look down on animation to this day.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, kind of like slightly different topic, but just reminds me my mom was talking about some. I think it's not really an anime, but like there's a show on Netflix called Blue Eyed Samurai. And my mom, for whatever reason, watched an episode of it. And she's like, "Wow, I'm surprised this one like had a lot of nudity and violence." And my dad's like, "Cartoons shouldn't have that." I'm like, damn, still.
Yeah.
It's like, what are they thinking? What kind of sicko would put that in animation? And I'm like, damn. I'm the sicko that loves that shit in my animation, but all right.
Yeah, it's like my parents had I think I don't know if they have the same view on it. They don't watch a lot of Western stuff, but like I imagine though, like yeah, like if that was put in front of them, they would have the same like thought that like, well, why does a cartoon have this? Yeah.
It's like, well, why not, old person? Get with the times. But anyway, speaking of getting with the times, this has been a reflection of two weebs who've been in the anime and manga game for quite some time. Maybe not as much as other people, but I feel like our entry points and our experience with the community was a bit interesting, so we decided to do that as a podcast topic. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to kind of talk about your reflections with your anime fandom in the comments below, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.